Hello, welcome to another tonal landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is called Riff on John Francis Murphy. It is a 5x7, and I painted this about a week and a half ago. What you see me doing with my hand there is I've been working hard to try and keep the camera completely focused on the board. I know it's definitely taken me years to get to this point, but hopefully you'll enjoy that. Yeah. The thing that would happen, of course, is the camera will change the exposure setting based on the lightness of my hand against the board. So that's not great. By the way, you saw me flashing up a very small jar there, and what I'm doing is the medium that I use is Archival Oils brand. Usually, I think I've been using the classic, so I can't even say it's odorlessly, and they both seem to work the same as far as I can see. That's a quick drying oil, and my main medium. I'll add that to my paint when I need a little movement. For example, when I'm doing the underpainting, which is what we're doing now. We'll get into the boards and stuff in a sec, but the advantage of the very small jar is the Archival Oils medium has one drawback, and that is that the more oxygen is in the jar with the oil, the quicker it turns into this gooey sludge. And there's quite a few bottoms of jars over the year I've had to just throw away because it turns into this just goo. So I've been decanting into very small jars, and that's been working okay. We're still working on it. We're working on I think it's MDF. It could be hardboard. I'm not sure. It's a little far back for me to actually recall that, but it's been prepped with some house paint tinted to a color called Deep Earth, which is really a very lovely color. And the paint color we're doing our underpainting with is Burnt Umber. Now, this scene just very vaguely resembles John Francis Murphy's scene, but enough so that I'm calling it a riff. There's been a few I've done lately that have been inspired by compositions from the masters that have just deviated so greatly that I don't even bother calling out well, in some cases I don't even know who the master was. But I mess around with the reference with digital means and get to some interesting outcomes. Here, it's based on this basically a painting that I did a study of back in probably not the 100 Days, but one of the Master series. If I can recall, I'll maybe try and put a link to it under the video just for your edification and enjoyment. Now, in the members area, the reference image flashes up at the beginning of every video, and that was always one of the big seeing the reference was always one of the big requests on the channel over the years. Well, not that I get many requests these days. I guess you guys are just used to me. You already know what I'm going to say. I don't know. But if you have any questions, you can always ask them in the comments area, or even shoot me an email. I'm real happy to share information. And, well, that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, and we'll have an ad for that coming up, so we'll talk more about that then. Yeah, now we're working in the sky, and I was real happy with the way the sky turned out. I love to inject color in the sky. It's even when I do blue sky with fluffy clouds, I will bring in a bunch of extra colors into things. Like I'll inject a little bit of madder, rose madder into the grays, or some of the diox purple, or another good one is the old burnt sienna. There's a lot of different ways you can tilt things, and it'll still come off like, well, I don't know if it comes off like a midday sky. Maybe it'll come off like a sky in the morning. When we see more color in the sky. But whether there's color in the sky in my actual reference, well, actually I can't really say that, because if you pay attention to the colors of clouds, as you're going about your day, really look at the grays. There's some that are very cool and some that are very warm, but there's a lot of different colors going on. And if you think about it, each cloud's got little mini rainbows since they're made out of water vapor and the sun's going through there. So those are not stagnant or stationary colors. Yeah. Anyway, here's the book. We got some orders for the book. We're going to be shipping out, and I'm really happy to send it to you anywhere on the planet. Worked real hard on it. It's the distillation of 13 years of painting experience and designed to be an instructional tome, sort of a how-to. So if you like this sort of, at least my take on tonalism, pick it up. And a lot of this information's on the YouTube, but the problem there is, of course, I may just mention something a little bit in one video or the next video, where the book gives you a place where you can explore that information and go back to it, and just basically kind of bootstrap your own tonalist thing if that's what you want to do. Anyway, yeah, check it out. $60 US international shipping is included. All right, you can see what a great support that Deep Earth is. I can leave so much of this peeking around because it's such a natural earth color. For many years, I was doing the burnt sienna, which was also awesome. It's great because it has a lot of vibration. This has slightly less vibration, but I can be a little less careful about letting bits peek through because it's a more natural color. The problem with the burnt sienna, sometimes you would have a lot of that peeking through, and once the, say, coating that's going on the painting hits the painting, it makes things look sort of wet. You can get more saturation than you might like. Now, that, of course, can add to the overall effect. I think tonalists get vibration through using a colored ground, and I believe that the Impressionists get a vibration by mixing primaries close to each other. These are both, awesome strategies. There's a lot of other things going on with tonalism. For one, it's a bit more of a subdued and poetic approach, a bit more still and philosophical. Not that I'm saying the Impressionists are not philosophical people. It's just a different dynamic, a different approach. And when I first started painting, I was definitely working in the Impressionist sort of mode, and working from photographs. I still use photographic reference, but a lot of times I really take that reference for an extensive ride, so it gets into highly manipulated modes, and in some cases where it's even a bit garish or ugly, but that doesn't really matter because it's all designed to feed the painting. Yeah, the Impressionists can make almost any sort of light effect come off, and I'm not as interested in light effects as I am in the overall tone of the piece, the overall emotional tone, and of course that's all being brought into focus with the manipulation of values and color. And now you can, a lot of times with your teaching there, you can separate the values from the colors when you're talking about things, but let's face it, when you're painting in color, you are applying color and hue at the same time. So I can see, and I have in my book, I have one chapter on the values, and quite a lot of talk about color. So it is helpful, I think, when you're teaching people about how to see, to look at it separately. But when you're painting, obviously you're mixing a color, it's going to hit a value, and it's going to have a hue, and it needs to be right. And if you're in the members area, you'll hear me working on the color, and a lot of times, I'll have usually a pre-mixing session where you can see the colors I'm using to get the broad strokes of the painting, and that's always helpful, I think, to have a few colors pre-mixed on your palette, just so that you It's a great way of getting involved with the painting without actually putting your brush down. And it's a great way to sort of consider what it is you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And also, it's a great motivator too, because quite often I'll be doing pre-mixes before lunch and leave it on my bench, and I know it's sitting there drying, so I want to make sure and get back and finish that painting that day. That's a real good strategy for me, actually. Find a board, um, find a reference. And sometimes it's reference first and then board second, but a lot of times I just decide what size I want to paint that day. Lately, I've been trying to put a focus on doing more small ones because the economy out here isn't great. So people are, I think, struggling to afford the larger things, which, always go for more money. And we all know that Uncle Mike loves painting small, so that's not much of a stress or a strain for me. But I do like how when you're doing smaller work, you can get in. Like I've done this whole scene, and the overall painting session in the members area is, going to crack in at 2.5, 3 hours. No, probably just 2.5 hours or so. And I did everything here that I wanted to do. Um, There was a lot of, and there always is, a lot of subtleties in the reference which I didn't paint, and of course working at a smaller size is always going to preclude that sort of activity. You're going to need to keep things, in perspective when you are working small. It's unless you want to get into really tiny, like sable brushes and stuff, and that's not my game. I want a painterly effect, and that means hog's bristle, and hog's bristle only goes so small. I get like what's in my hand there? It looks like a 0, possibly it's a 1. But it got it done, and it'll get into a gallery. I don't know if the galleries out here would be that thrilled. Up here in the north in New Zealand, we don't get much of a change of color, and this scene certainly looks like it's quite fall-like. Anyway, before we tune out on this video, say a little bit about Francis Murphy. God bless him. I really love that painting that I base this off of. It doesn't. The tree masses are very different. Everything is different, except the basic composition and also the coloration. So it deserves some acknowledgement towards old John. It's by the fact I've changed a lot, and I think riffing on the masters is absolutely great practice. I actually wish I'd started doing that earlier, and I always say I wish I'd started doing studies earlier, but when I went after the studies, and going on 10 years ago now, when I got into this channel solidly with the 100 Days of Tonalism, which you can check out the playlist in the playlist area. In fact, don't sleep on the playlist area. There's a ton of great stuff there. You can just let it ride in the background, and great use for your buddy old M. Francis here, Mike. Put me on in the background as you're doing your own paintings, and listen to me burble along. Some people say I have a relaxing voice, and I try and keep it that way. Every now and again you might hear a dog bark or something, but anyway, that I think that's a great practice maybe for you. Just keep the playlist running in the background, and if you're in the members area, definitely that's the way to go. Because that would be, in this case, like an over 2 hour painting session. But even though it's on in the background, that's the real deal. We're there in the trenches together, and I think it's incredibly valuable. And you're of course welcome to tip in and tip out. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you've been having a great week, and until I come back with another video for your edification, hopefully for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid, take good care of yourself, your family, all of your loved ones. Stay out of trouble. God bless you and your family, and while you're doing that, please fight the power.